In the heart of the sprawling wilderness, there lies a national park so vast that it seems to stretch beyond the boundaries of reality. A place where ancient trees whisper forgotten secrets, and the very air is thick with mystery. Few dare to venture into its depths, for it is rumored to be haunted by monstrous creatures, born from nightmares and legend. One fateful day, a squadron of elite soldiers was given a top-secret mission: investigate the escalating reports of missing hikers, campers, and even park rangers. This was no ordinary task, for the disappearances were shrouded in a veil of silence, and the authorities needed answers. The soldiers, hardened by years of training and combat, embarked on this mission with a mix of apprehension and determination. Equipped with high-tech gear, they felt invincible as they delved into the unknown. But the further they ventured, the more the forest seemed to close in around them, as if the very trees conspired to keep them from the truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows among the ancient trees, the soldiers established camp. The air was heavy with tension as they recounted tales of past battles, a futile attempt to keep their minds off the growing unease. Yet, the forest seemed to be alive with a symphony of whispers and distant cries. In the dead of night, a piercing howl shattered the silence. The soldiers sprung to their feet, gripping their weapons, scanning the darkness for any sign of the source. That's when they first saw them, the creatures, towering monstrosities. Their forms, a twisted amalgamation of man and beast, with gnarled, grotesque features and eyes that gleamed with malevolence. A battle ensued, the forest echoing with the sound of gunfire. But these creatures were unlike anything they had ever faced. Bullets seemed to ricochet off their hide, and they moved with blinding speed. The soldiers fought valiantly, but it was clear they were outmatched. They managed to retreat to their camp, but the creatures continued to stalk them from the shadows. Over the next few days, the soldiers encountered horrors beyond their imagination. They stumbled upon grisly scenes, mutilated bodies, tents shredded to tatters, and blood-soaked trails that led to nowhere. The missing were found in gruesome states, as if torn apart by a malevolent force. The soldiers' camaraderie was tested as they struggled to cope with the fear that gnawed at their souls. Each night, the creatures' cries echoed through the forest, a chilling reminder of their relentless presence. The soldiers shared stories of the creatures, tall tales of vengeful spirits, ancient curses, and otherworldly monsters. But as the days went by, the stories became more chilling, more real, until it was clear that the very fabric of their reality was unraveling. Despite the odds, the soldiers never lost hope. They adapted, using their wits and survival instincts to stay one step ahead. They built traps, learned to move silently, and exploited the terrain to turn the tables on their pursuers. The creatures, seemingly intelligent, were momentarily thrown off, allowing the soldiers to escape their clutches. As the days turned into weeks, the soldiers' resilience was tested to the breaking point. They were battered, exhausted, haunted by the memory of those terrifying encounters. But they pressed on, knowing that they were the last line of defense against these abominations. On the final night of their mission, the soldiers made a daring last stand, fueled by desperation and a desire to end the nightmare. They confronted the creatures head-on. A fierce battle ensued, a symphony of chaos, with bullets and claws clashing in the moonlit forest. The soldiers fought with a ferocity born of survival. But the creatures were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. It seemed all hope was lost, the soldiers on the brink of being overwhelmed when a sudden explosion rocked the forest. Reinforcements had arrived. A team of specially trained operatives, armed with advanced weaponry, designed to combat the creatures. In a spectacular display of firepower, the creatures were driven back, their malevolent presence slowly receding. The surviving soldiers, battered and bruised, were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. The park, once a realm of horror, was reclaimed, the creatures driven back into the shadows from whence they came. The soldiers emerged as heroes, scarred both physically and mentally by the battle they had waged. The national park's dark secret was now known, and the world shivered at the thought of what lurked in the untamed wilderness. But the soldiers, forever changed by their ordeal, knew that there were terrors beyond imagination, lurking just out of sight, waiting for the next daring soul to venture into the unknown. Story 2. Deep within the heart of the enigmatic national park, a small squad of elite soldiers embarked on a mission. Shrouded in secrecy, rumors of monstrous creatures lurking within the forest had sent chills down the spines of even the bravest souls. But these soldiers were determined to uncover the truth. As the soldiers ventured deeper into the wild, the atmosphere grew more oppressive. Shadows seemed to dance ominously among the trees, and an unnatural silence hung in the air. With each passing hour, the sense of unease intensified, but these battle-hardened soldiers pressed on, driven by duty and an unwavering camaraderie. One moonless night, as they huddled around a flickering campfire, they heard it, the distinct rustling of leaves, followed by a bone-chilling howl. 3 pairs of eyes gleamed in the darkness, revealing the creatures that had haunted the park. Towering and nightmarish, the creatures bore a semblance of twisted, grotesque beings, with eyes that seemed to pierce the very soul. The soldiers knew they were in for a true battle, a fight for survival against an unimaginable foe. With weapons in hand, they stood their ground, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and determination. The creatures lunged, their movements a blur of malevolent grace. The battle was fierce, a chaotic symphony of gunfire, clawed strikes, and the desperate shouts of soldiers locked in a life and death struggle. The creatures were relentless, their hides seeming impervious to bullets, and their agility making them difficult to target. The soldiers fought valiantly, but the odds were against them. As the hours passed, one by one, the soldiers fell. Their bravery was matched only by the creatures' ruthlessness. 2 of the monsters lay lifeless, but the third, wounded and furious, pressed on. The remaining soldier, battered and bloodied, managed to land a decisive blow, sending the last creature fleeing into the depths of the forest. The lone survivor, gasping for breath, knew he had to make it back to civilization. He stumbled through the forest, haunted by the memory of the battle, driven by the need to tell his comrades what had transpired. He finally reached the camp, his comrades' gear scattered as grim reminders of the battle. Desperate to share the truth, the soldier reported the harrowing encounter to his superiors. However, instead of receiving commendation for his bravery, he was met with suspicion. The higher-ups, it seemed, were already aware of the creature's existence, and they had no intention of letting the truth reach the public. The survivor was silenced, locked away in a covert facility, his pleas falling on deaf ears. He realized he was now a pawn in a sinister cover-up, a living testament to the horrors that lurked within the national park. The world remained blissfully unaware of the true danger, while the soldiers' sacrifice and the terrifying battle were buried in secrecy, lost to the shadows, just like the monsters that had forever changed their lives. Story 3. In the heart of the sprawling, malevolent wilderness, the elite soldier squad pressed on, deep into the haunted national park, a realm of terror where the shadows held secrets darker than the night itself. Their initial mission to hunt down the monsters had become a nightmare, as these creatures seemed to multiply and adapt with each encounter. Their every move was countered by the creature's uncanny intelligence. The monster's ambushes grew more frequent and strategic, testing the soldiers' skills and determination to the breaking point. Each night, as the campfire burned low, they huddled together, their expressions a mix of exhaustion and grim resolve, sharing stories of the battles they had fought during the day. Despite their training, the soldiers found themselves struggling against the relentless onslaught. Communication with their superiors had become sporadic, leaving them isolated, battling both the monsters and the growing sense of isolation that gnawed at their souls. The monsters, it seemed, could anticipate their tactics, making each engagement more dangerous than the last. They had to rely on every ounce of their training, every trick in the book, just to stay one step ahead of these nightmarish creatures. As days blurred into a never-ending fight for survival, the soldiers knew they needed help. They managed to send out a distress signal, desperately calling for reinforcement. The higher-ups recognized the gravity of the situation and launched a full-scale rescue operation, assembling a team of battle-hardened specialists. This rescue team, armed to the teeth, infiltrated the park, moving in with calculated precision. They were determined to reach the soldiers, to extract them from the heart of the forest, and put an end to this nightmare once and for all. The rescue team faced their own harrowing encounters, battling the monsters that lurked within the forest. Each step brought them closer to the original squad, but also closer to the relentless creatures that had already claimed so many lives. A climactic battle unfolded as the rescue team reached the soldiers' last known location. The monsters descended upon them with fury, outnumbering them and pushing them to their limits. It was a fight that shook the very trees, a struggle that felt like the final showdown between humanity and the forces of darkness. Amidst the chaos, the original squad and the rescue team fought as a united front, a brotherhood forged in the crucible of battle. Bullets and claws clashed, explosions lit up the night, and the air was filled with the screams of the creatures and the shouts of soldiers determined to survive. Finally, after hours of fierce combat, the rescue team managed to break through the monsters' ranks and reach the soldiers. It was a bittersweet moment, as the squad had been through hell and back, but the rescue team had arrived just in time to turn the tide. Together, they fought off a final, desperate attack from the monsters, using every ounce of their strength, every bullet in their arsenal. The creatures were driven back, vanquished by the sheer determination and resilience of the united soldiers. The rescue team, battered but victorious, extracted the original squad from the depths of the haunted forest. The survivors, their faces etched with exhaustion, were finally free from the relentless pursuit of the monsters. The national park, once a place of serene beauty, bore the scars of this epic battle, and the soldiers' tales would forever serve as a reminder of the price of confronting the unknown. As they emerged from the forest, the rescued soldiers shared a deep sense of gratitude and camaraderie with the rescue team. They had survived the horrors together, and the bond they had formed was unbreakable. The higher-ups, however, chose to bury the truth of what had happened in the national park, sealing the records and keeping the events hidden from the public. The soldiers, their heroism overshadowed by secrecy, returned to their normal lives, carrying with them the memories of the relentless battles and the monsters that would haunt their nightmares for years to come.